Okay, we are in Orchot Tzadikim. Please subscribe to the channel. Give it a thumbs up and like it. And what's the other thing you have to do? Comment on it.
Give it a thumbs up.
I said that. Okay. Okay, and that way it goes. What?
Ring the bell.
Ring the bell. There you go. Okay, ring the bell. And that way it'll go right to the top of your screen, to the YouTube channel, and you'll never miss a class. Okay. We're on page 205, and we're continuing the gate of love. So we're looking at the different types of loves that we have, and he's now continues. The love of one's father and mother should be as follows. He should bear in mind that they have raised him and labored with him and taught him Hashem's ways and have educated him and guided him in Torah and in mitzvot and have enabled him to fulfill Hashem's mitzvah of honor your father and mother. So he comments, he says, honor your father and mother. It's impossible to assess or give an accounting as to what and how much parents do for their children. From the moment of birth and earlier until the child has grown up and further, parents are on call around the clock. The physical, emotional, and financial burdens that parents endure are beyond description. So he gives one of his stories. He says, after being diagnosed with a serious heart ailment, a young man in Eretz Yisrael decided to travel to the U.S. for surgery as per the advice of Rav Shach. Wondering if he should inform his elderly parents, who would certainly become anguished and worrisome, the young man turned once again to Rav Shach for advice. Although he answered, although you need not tell them too many details, it's very important that they know about your situation, because the prayers of a father and the tears of a mother have much power in heaven. So that's why he was told to tell. But the bottom line is, your parents, the love of one's parents is for what they do and what you don't even know they did to you. That's why you have this mitzvah of honoring your parents. The Kli Yakar notes that although the mitzvah of honoring parents is a mitzvah that relates to other people, it's still placed on the first half of the Ten Commandments. So together with the mitzvot that relate to Hashem. Thus, the Kli Yakar says, this what Kli Yakar says is because every human being is the embodiment of three partners, Hashem, father, and mother. When people honor their parents, Hashem considers it as if they had honored him. It is no wonder that the Baal HaTurim explains that this mitzvah of honoring his parents follows out of the Shabbat to teach us that one must honor his parents just as one must honor the Shabbat. This being the case, it behooves every person to honor his parents in every way possible. Okay, fine. So that's how much you have to love your parents. Now we go to your siblings. And his brothers, sisters, and other relatives he should love in this manner. He should consider that they occupy themselves with him to elevate his character and to assist him in divine service. You thought your brother was just picking on you and doing everything he does. No, it was to get you to the next level. That's why they are in this world. Okay, so he should occupy himself with them to teach them and reprimand them without playing favorites. He will thereby receive great reward, and he will be manifesting a great trait, as is written, and he carried not the shame of his relatives. So he explains, and he carried not the shame of his relatives is based on the Rashi's interpretation of the pasuk. It refers to a person who sees his relative commit a sin for which he could have been punished in court, and he does not withhold the information from the proper authorities. You would have thought he would protect them, right? He's saying, no, that's not love. Therefore, no one could later accuse him of covering up for his relative. On the other hand, how much consideration must be taken in reference to how one treats his relatives. It happens often that we show more love and care for complete strangers than for those who are closest to us. There is a verse in Tanakh that sheds light on this issue and can perhaps put things into their proper perspective. The verse says, "V'v'sarcha lo titalem," and do not hide yourself from your flesh. Rashi explains that the word flesh refers to relatives, meaning that one should not ignore his relative. Bar Kafra says, see his flesh as you see your own flesh. It seems clear from the above source that one must make every effort to assist family members, viewing them as an extension of himself. And he comments, isn't it ironic that many people involve themselves in charitable projects, giving their time, energy, and money, and yet they ignore their very own relatives who are in great need? It is certainly very virtuous and praiseworthy for one to extend himself to the myriad of wonderful organizations that exist in our community. However, one should consult a Torah authority concerning his particular case to determine what his priorities should be. So here you have somebody who's volunteering for all over the place, but he's not taking care of his family. Well, that's a problem. Okay, so that's what he's saying. And then he says, a man derives much benefit from his relatives, as in the case of Lot, whom Abraham rescued from the kings, and for whom he fought, and who was rescued even from Sodom in Avram's merit. One should love his friends and all other Jews with perfect love, as is written, and you should love your fellow man as yourself. Now here he goes on a long explanation. And he says, you should love your, you should love your neighbor like yourself. In order to understand this mitzvah properly, one must delve into the many commentaries. This author, however, wishes to make note of two very important points that are often overlooked and misunderstood. This mitzvah does not necessarily mean that one should do for others exactly what he would do for himself. Why? Each person's needs and wants are different. Thus, if one would do for others what he would do for himself, it could infringe upon the other's dignity and wishes. One cannot simply assume that what suits him will suit others. The Torah's instruction, rather, is to do for others as one wishes others would do for him. Just as he would want others to make an effort to find out his likes and dislikes, so too should he try to ascertain their likes and dislikes and act accordingly. The message of you shall love your friend like yourself is to love others in the same manner that one wants others to love him. You understand? That's even as you understand what's going on there? We all think that loving somebody like myself is, I love myself, I'm wonderful, I'm the best in the world, great. So I have to put that open. So Ramban says it's impossible. Nobody can love anybody as much as they love themselves. That's an impossibility. So now what happens is, but if you understand it this way, it's a philosophy that when when I'm going to somebody's house, I would want them to ask me, what's your favorite food? Do you like this food? Do you like that food? Are you allergic to anything? That is loving your neighbor. That's showing that I'm concerned about you. Just as I would want you to ask me those questions, and treat me accordingly. So also, he's saying, that's number one, you should love the neighbor like yourself, that's what I should do for you. I should ask you, so what do you eat? I mean, when we invite people, my wife goes out of her way to find out what everybody likes. And if it's like in your case, where it's what do you guys consider? It's not just vegetarian, plant-based diet. Okay, plant-based diet, but it's raw. You don't, for the most part, you didn't cook stuff. I remember somebody didn't cook. Some stuff wasn't cooked, or it wasn't oil, so whatever the case was. No oil. Right. So I remember, and she was saying, she looked in the recipe books. And your father complimented her, said, "Oh, I see, Baruch Hashem, I can eat here." But then he ate. So it's the biggest compliment in the world. But that's v'yaftarecha kamocha, right? You go out of your way, not for what I want, but for what the guest wants, what the person wants. That's what he's saying. That's number one. That's Ibn Ezra. So he said, then he goes, secondly, it is preferable to any feelings or expressions of love for others can be rooted completely in the mitzvah of v'ahavta l'recha kamocha. Again, shall love your neighbor like yourself. For if one acts kindly and lovingly toward others because of personal feelings or gender or mood, then he will love only when he is loved back, and will give only when he receives what he receives in return, and will be gracious only when in the mood. One must love others simply because it's a mitzvah. Okay, so if I'm going to do it because it's simply a mitzvah, I'm not going to worry about what they can do for me. Because again, and we're looking at normal human relations. Normal human relation is whatever. If you can do something for me, then I love you. Otherwise, I don't. And why? Because I'm the most important thing in the world. It's that simple. Okay, so now we go on. And it says, this is a great, the Orchot Tzadikim said, and this is a great principle in the Torah. What you hate, do not do to your friend. Okay, that's what Hillel said, Hillel also, but Rabbi Akiva said it. Rabbi Akiva said, when they asked him, what is that? Klal Gadol b'Torah. This is a major principle in the Torah. That which you hate, don't do to your friend. Fine. And even greater than this, it says in Bereshis, for in Hashem's image he made man. Now, what is all this going to do? He says, for in Hashem's image he made man. This is a very difficult verse to understand. Since Hashem does not have an image. In our daily prayers, we even say, Ein lo demut haguf, that Hashem has no physical form or image. How then does one understand that man is created in Hashem's image? So Bereshit states that Hashem breathed into Adam's nostrils the soul of life. Commenting on this verse, Ramban explains, Hashem breathed a portion of his own spirit, as it were, into Avram. Think of it this way. When someone with a cold inflates a balloon, some of the germs of that person are now in the balloon. This is based on the concept of man de nafach v'tocha nafach, one who breathes from within himself. Thus, human beings are endowed and imbued with the essence of Hashem, with godliness. What better reason could there be for loving one's fellow man, which is the embodiment of Hashem? So then he gives a story. While studying in Jerusalem 30 years ago, I was asked by a visiting acquaintance to accompany him on a mission. He was going through some difficult times and wished to seek advice from one of the Torah sages in Israel. Being that he spoke only English, he asked if I would go as an interpreter, to which I agreed. We traveled to Bnei Brak, hoping to meet with the disciple Gaon. But when we arrived at his doorstep, we were informed by a grandson that the great tzaddik was not well enough that day to receive visitors. Not wanting the journey to be in vain, we went to the famed Panava Yeshiva to try to secure a future appointment with the Rosh Yeshiva, Rav Shach, whom I had as yet never met. So it's interesting. We're talking about 30 years ago. This book was published a couple of years ago. You're talking only in 1900s, tops. It has to be the 1900s, but there was already books written about the discipler. Rav Shach, I have his picture in my office. I mean, come on, you have to know who you're looking at. It's Gadol cards. I remember they had the Gedolim cards. So it was certainly pictures out there, but this person never met him. So what happens? Standing in the doorway of their impressive and packed study hall, we looked around hoping to find someone who could direct us. I noticed an elderly and saintly-looking man learning one-on-one with a young student in the back of the room. Within about 30 seconds, that man came over and asked us if he could help us. I said we were interested in making an appointment with Rav Shach, and we were looking for someone who could arrange it. So let's talk, he responded. Yes, you guessed it. It was Rav Shach himself. Can you imagine? The guy didn't recognize who he was talking to again. I find it really hard. Again, you swallow when you see everybody. They all have the same white beards and so on and so forth, I guess. And you're not expecting him to be there. Fine.
Or also maybe Rav Shach thought he was talking in third person. I'd like to make an appointment with Rav Shach.
It could be.
Good.
He then took us both by our hands, walked us outside, and spoke lovingly with us for approximately 45 minutes, not letting go of us for even a moment. Here was a man with the yoke of the world on his shoulders. But while speaking with us, we felt as if he had absolutely nothing else on his mind. We had his full attention. There was one interruption during our talk when an elderly woman walked by and Rav Shach excused himself to us, although not letting it go of us, and inquired how she was doing. She said that all was well, and we resumed our talk. I later discovered that she was the cook for the yeshiva, and every day Rav Shach would ask her how her day was going. This was greatness. This was v'ahavta l'recha kamocha. Needless to say, those 45 minutes that I will never forget. Okay, that's Rav Yachna speaking, of course, but it's like I said, it's interesting that he didn't have in mind he was going to see him, and apparently he didn't know how he looked either, or maybe the gadol card he had was younger than he really was. I'm not sure, but like I said, here was this big rabbi who took time out of his day. 45 minutes, by the way, is a very long time to start talking to people at that level. So it's, that's to his credit. But that's all a matter of, you have to recha kamocha. Okay. He says there's a great benefit both in this world and the next. In one's conducting himself with affection and love toward his fellow man. First, in this world, one who relates with love to all men will be helped by all men. If he falls, he will have many to aid and support him. If someone stands up against him to contend with him, many will take his side to counsel and rescue him. If they speak ill against him, many will silence those who do so and will shame them. And if misfortune befalls him, many will feel for him and lend him support. If he finds himself in a difficult situation or in poverty, many people will show pity by giving him gifts, not loans. It's interesting too. You would have thought they would give you loans, but they give it because you would think that most people don't like gifts. If I'm at this level, it says in the Gemara that those who hate gifts will live long, whatever the expression is. So you would think you don't want gifts. So what they used to do for some rebellion, where they had a hard time, is they would give him a store, and he would go to work for 2 hours a day, whatever it was, and they would all support him, make him have enough money for the day, and then he would close the store. He didn't need any more. He had his food for the day, and he would go back to learn. And but he didn't want anybody to give it to him, so he would open the store's door. And that was how they supported him, and he was happy. So but he's saying, if the person finds himself in difficult situations, people show pity because he was nice to them, so they'll be nice to him. Then there is a benefit in the next world. The fact that he is beloved by all will cause his words to be heeded, and he will be in a position to reprove men to better their deeds. It will also cause him, why? Because they know that he's doing it for their good and not because he wants to feel like a big boy. So I can tell you what you're doing and so on and so forth. No, he knows that they take it with the love that is given. Okay? Will also cause him to live in peace with all men, and to enjoy the calm, tranquility, and leisure to occupy himself with the study of Torah and with good deeds. In addition, they will help him and do his work and protect him, so that he will have greater peace of mind for the perfection of the divine service. Because of this love, he will find favor in the eyes of all who see him. His good deeds will be acceptable to all men, and all will desire to emulate him. So that's the reward of just loving, of the Havta Recha Kamocha, but again, the way he's been describing it, where I'm doing it for you, I'm being solicitous of what you want versus what I would want. I'm not doing it for personal gain, I'm doing it because I care about you. So if we can actually do that, again, I think it's a hard level, because I think most people are selfish, and we want to know what's in it for us. So that's the philosophy that people have. You have some who can be very altruistic, but again, I think for the most part, we want to be what's in it for us. Yeah.
That's very hard for us to understand, that the students of Rabbi Akiva, they were on such a high level, we can't even fathom that we can say that was a person's personal selfish feeling that, hey, my Torah is more how do we understand that?
How do we understand what? That they died?
How do we understand that concept that they 24,000 students were killed because they did not show respect to each other on such a high level, and we can't even fathom high
Okay.
level. That they
So the way we normally explain that is that they, when they were asked a question by their partner, it says 12,000 pairs. So the way it's normally understood is their lack of courtesy is when they would ask a question, their chavruta, their study partner, or somebody else would say, "Come on, you know how to do that. You can do it yourself. You don't need my help." It would be that sort of goading them to bring them to the next level. And they would argue they were doing that for the good, not because they didn't respect them. They, of course we respect you, but we want you to do it on your own.
interesting.
So that's a normal approach taken to that. And the result is, by the way, that's not proper. If somebody's coming to you for help, you help. You don't want them to become dependent upon you, but you want to give them the skill, the wherewithal to be able to do it. As the expression goes, I can give you a fish and feed you for the day, or I can teach you to fish and you eat the rest of your life. So your husband is very nice in that he'll come over and he'll help me out with my car, knowing that I'm not going to do it. So, but when I asked him to do the same thing for my lawnmower, he told me to go on YouTube. Because that's not his thing. He doesn't want to do it yet. I don't blame him. But but again, there's that yin and yang of I love you, blah, blah, blah. So again, why am I doing it? Am I doing it because I want you to realize how wonderful I am, and therefore you're going to do something for me? Or am I doing it because, no, I have a mitzvah. The mitzvah is I have to care about you. That's my mitzvah. Whether or not I want to is irrelevant. I have a mitzvah. And that's a high, again, to always focus on that there's a mitzvah in the world. That mitzvah is v'ahavta kamocha, or tefillah, or whatever it's going to be. That is tzedakah. It's a mitzvah. It's not a choice. It's a command. So if I have that in mind when giving it, that changes the focus of everything. So I'm not doing it for myself. I'm not doing it for the ultimate reward. Why do I give Meiser? Right? I ask people, why do you give Meiser? Because Hashem says, if you give Meiser, He'll pay you back. Right? It's a simple way to make money. I give you, you give me back. What?
It's what we tell the young ones to get them into the mitzvah.
Right, but I mean, we tell the old ones too. We go to the Gevirim and we tell the rich people and say, look, Hashem says you have to get 10%. And you know what? And the more you give, kol hamarbe, the more you give, the more Hashem will give it to you. We quote the Shulchan Aruch. Wonderful, okay? And they look at us like, are you insane? You know how much money I give? Well, okay, that's we get into the that sort of a contest. But it's, again, are you doing it for the mitzvah, or are you doing it for the kudos? Are you doing it to get your plaque? Why are you doing it? And so if you can tell me you're really doing it for the mitzvah, then you'll never, not that you wouldn't get the plaque, not that you wouldn't get the kudos. I'm not arguing those, but you also won't look and say, what have you done for me? You won't use that as a battering ram.
Isn't it better to start off doing the mitzvah?
Even if you're not doing it for the right reason, of course you do it. But what I'm saying, he's not talking about that. You're talking about I'm talking about the best of all worlds. When I'm doing a mitzvah, I should do it because there's a commander out there that said, I need you to do this. This is your order. These are your marching orders. Go with them. And don't worry about it. And again, when I love my neighbor like myself, like we said before you walked in, it was being solicitous of what you need versus what I need. For example, when somebody comes to your house, they're coming for Shabbos. So what do? You call them up. Are there any food allergies? Blah, blah, blah. Just like you would want them to do for you. So that is what v'ahavta kamocha is. I want to be treated, I should treat others like I would want to be treated. So as solicitous as I am of you, so that's to be the back and forth. But again, I'm realizing also that's a mitzvah. Okay? And that's why we have to do it. Okay? So I did that, right? Yeah, sorry. Good. Oh, so he says right there, his good deeds will be acceptable to all men. This is a golden rule to bear in mind for anyone who wishes to influence others. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. You get that one? That's nice. I like that one. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Okay, that's if you want to influence people, you have to show them you care. It doesn't matter how much you know. I could read Dave Ramsey's book all day long, but Dave Ramsey doesn't care about Fred Neville. He doesn't know Fred Neville unless he's watching YouTube. Then he knows Fred Neville. I don't know. Dave, if you watch it, tell me. I'll put you in. I'll say thanks. Okay. But that's what he says. So once others are convinced that they are loved and cared for, they will be willing to listen to you. That is simply because they know that you have their best interest in mind, and they will benefit from your advice. Of course, one's love and concern for others must be completely unadulterated and sincere in order to engender such feelings in others. By the way, think about it. Our kids, for the most part, listen to us, seek out our advice, regardless of how much you don't think they do at this particular moment, because you have teenagers. But they will continue to look for advice, and they'll call you and they'll talk to you. And if you are thinking, no, I wouldn't have done that, they take that, strangely enough, they take that as the gospel truth. To go into a different religion there, but they take that very seriously, and it's an amazing thing. I remember when I was at a convention, the one thing the rabbi told us, one of the speakers, he was happening to be a rabbi, he said, you don't realize how much influence you have as parents, and if you really want to know how much you have as parents, all you need to do is watch TV and see how Hollywood has been trying to destroy parents by making them look stupid and everything else. He said they have put money into this, and still in all, with all that, the kids know it's not true. And they come back to the parents, and they ask the parents for advice. So with everything they're doing on TV, they know that's just made up. And so Hollywood has lost miserably. He said they spent a lot of money trying to destroy your power, and they haven't accomplished it. Which I thought was an interesting takeaway from a convention. And here he was telling a bunch of rabbis this whole thing, but he should have told the parents more than the rabbis. But it's
now the rabbis are going back to the congregation,
right,
telling the parents.
Right. We did, but it was amazing. They had studies to prove that, prove what they were saying.
Down dad, sure.
Yeah, unbelievable. Okay, so. Now we go on. So it says back to the Orchot. He says, how does one come to love all men? I will teach you and enlighten you, he says. The way is for him to give to all men as much as he can of himself and of his possessions. Of himself, how to do that? He should serve all men, rich and poor, and exert himself for them. And he says, people often wonder how much time and energy they are required to devote to helping others. Based on Yaakov's promise to God, then he says, that whatever you will give to me, I will surely tithe to you. You ready for this? Rav Moshe Feinstein said that one is obligated to share with others 1/10 of everything he possesses, including time and energy. Rav Moshe, of course, I don't know how Rav Moshe slept. I don't know. He didn't have any time. But okay, he came up with that one. He said, simply this means that one must take into account of his daily waking hours and calculate 1/10 of that time and use it on behalf of helping others, counseling, visiting, rejoicing with them, and if need be, mourning with them. This, says the author, engenders love for others. So it's not just giving Meiser, which is 10% of your net earnings, but now you're taking 10% of your time. So think of how many hours we are awake, not sleeping. You're waking hours. And Rav Moshe is saying, take 10% of that and give that as to help people out.
You look at these stories of famous rabbis and rebbitzins who who saw people all day. I'm going to tell you, 1/10 was as far as on the lowest side of the low for them. They probably spent 50%,
Sure.
not more of their time. And they are the people who would sit there and literally cry with people when they were going through troubles, when they were hurting, or rejoice with them when they were happy, because they gave so much of themselves.
Correct. But that's for the Gedolim, that's for the great giants. But what do? We just look at them and say, oh, blah, blah, blah. No, so he's saying, don't say that. Start doing it. And again, limit yourself. There was a famous story about Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky, where they said the kids were playing basketball, and they were taking time out of the day. So they went to, so some of the frum guys went to Rav Yaakov and said, Bittul Torah is not learning Torah. It's wrong. So he said, no, it's very good. You should make a zaman. You should fix a time to be mevatel Torah, to not learn Torah, to be idle in Torah. They looked at him and they said, Rebbe, how can you say you should fix a time for that? He said, because if you don't fix it, you'll be wasting all the day. So fix a time, give it an hour, and then the rest of the day you'll be learning Torah. But because you already mevatel Torah. So that was his way of looking at it. But that, again, so sometimes you want to make those calculations. That if I'm up for 10 hours, so 1 hour should be spent helping somebody else out of that day. It doesn't have to be 1 hour straight, but you can ration out 1 hour. And again, think about how many people want to talk to you and say, yeah, I'll get back to you. I don't have time right now. Why? What are you doing? We do it, sometimes we do it with our kids, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we stop what we're doing and we give full attention, because people like to know that I'm talking to you, I want to be looking at you. That's why there was a whole discussion. I just read this somewhere, maybe over here, maybe we'll run into it. But, oh no, it wasn't. It was one of these things. When you want to have a meeting, you can't make a meeting, right? There's a meeting called. What happens? Do you have a meeting via video chat, video call, or just regular call, and you just put on speaker? What is the best way to do it? What?
Depends on what you're.
It's a meeting. It was a meeting. I want to have a meeting.
Like
with my workers.
Oh, your workers.
With my workers. I want to have a meeting. So what's the best? We can't all be there. So what's the best? Is it video or is it just voice? You say show your face. Why?
Because it makes it so much more personal. I care enough to be out there in front of you. You will see with you watching my face on it, the emotion and everything that I put into it.
Okay. And what happens if I don't see your face?
No, it's not. I guess not as serious. It's not. I don't know.
What will you be doing?
Doing other things.
Oh, to say. That's what it says. That was what that's what the thing said. He said when we don't see each other, then we don't have that eye contact. We don't see the facial expressions. What you just said. What we do is we multitask. So when we're on a computer, checking the email, checking this, checking that, so or washing dishes, whatever you're going to do, you're doing something. Okay. So then when the moderator asks a question, you have to waste time to say, what did you just say? All right. What did you say? I wasn't really listening. I missed that. So here, when everybody is looking at the same screen and you see what I'm doing, so at that point, you can't be as unfocused as you want to be. That's why when I used to listen to Daf Yomi or any Torah class, when I was listening to anything online, so I always would tell the people giving to me, make it so I have to look at the person. I have to see if it's just a voice, I'm not going to do it. It's just a waste of my time. Because I'm working out and whatever I'm doing, I'm not going to pay attention. It's just the way it is. But if I'm watching it, it's like watching a TV. It's like watching anything on TV. So even if you're exercising, you're still focused in because you see the facial expression, you see what's going on. There's moving parts, like here, moving parts. So if everybody watches this, they could just listen to it, but they're going to miss half the class because they're doing something else. So that's why that group is saying you have to be on video talking rather than the other way. But again, it's all about focusing. Okay. So of his possessions, he should lend the wealthy man money in his time of need, and the poor man in his duress, which I think is also interesting, that you're making it the rich in the time of need versus the poor man in time of duress. Why not the poor man in time of need?
Because
he's always in need, right? Exactly. When he has duress, you have to deal with that too. He should also give him occasional gifts according to his ability, and at times send treats and gifts to the wealthy as well. Oh, there you go. He should be entirely forgiving. Now the problem is the wealthy, well, it seems that they don't really care about the gifts we send them. There seems to be impression, but according to the Orchot Tzadikim, they're going to love you more for it, because you showed that you thought about them. Now it could work against you, and that they think you're only doing because I'm rich. So that's the other way to look at it. But if they know that you give to the poor, and you're giving to them, so then it's a different thing too. If they know that that's your teva, that's your nature to give, so then they say, oh, he's not giving it, he's not trying to buy something, he's not trying to soften me up. He really feels it, he wants to give me a gift. So that's the concept that he's dealing with. He should be entirely forgiving, which again is extremely difficult, because somebody does something to you, you want to get revenge. It's a normal response. But if you realize that everything is coming from Hashem, and Hashem and he's just using these people as his loudspeaker or his whipping boys, whatever the case is going to be, you realize it's all for your good, so then you don't have to hold a grudge against them. By the way, when you don't hold a grudge against a person or what's going on, you'll be much healthier, because you're not getting ulcers over these things. It just goes, fine, whatever. And again, nothing can be happenstance, it's all coming from God. So what do you do when something bad happens? You say, like my father always used to say, you say, I learned from my father there. So like my father always used to say, when anything happened, it should be a kapara for Kol Yisrael. He was not selfish about it. It should be an atonement for all of Israel. That's it. As a meat cutter, we had, our freezer was filled with meat. So, you don't like meat? What kind of Jew are you?
She's waiting. She thinks the freezer's gonna break.
No. So he would open it when he would be trying to put something away. So it was a box freezer, that sort of thing. And so he would open it up and say, Kol Yisrael should never have less than me. That's what he said. It was a meat cutter. I mean, we had good meats, let's face it. I was having steaks for dessert. For a snack. Okay, those were the days. But I don't have that anymore. But that's how he would do it. I mean, it was always a bracha to everybody. Again, that was the ultimate v'yavtarecha kamocha. Nobody should have less than what I have. They can have more, but not less. Okay, but that's what he was looking at. And it's also an interesting thing. In 1978, the big blizzard that everybody has heard about or experienced. Okay, 78. It was a major blizzard.
Blizzard where?
It was everywhere, but it was really everywhere. It hit everywhere for some reason.
Everywhere?
But it was Boston, specifically Boston.
Nor'easter.
Yeah, but it was like 5 feet of snow in 2 days. What happened was the highways were covered. You couldn't move. My father was stuck on the highway, and they all ended up camping out at a gas station. They had a garage. In the old days, you actually had a garage with a gas station. So he would go there, and some very kind woman brought in food for the 30 guys that were there. She didn't ask for anything. She just knew people stuck. She brought food, made sure everybody, and blankets. They got blankets and everything for those guys who were stranded, my father being one of them. Very nice. My father would then walk the 4 miles home, or whatever it was, wherever he was. I forget how many miles he had to walk. And he came home. And then when he got his car out of the snowbanks and everything else, fine. So he went back to the gas station. He said, who was the woman. And everybody they knew who it was, so they gave the address to my father. My father took, and she gave whatever she gave. My father brought maybe $100 of meat. Here, there you go. Thank you so much for what you did. You were tzaddikus, and so I want to pay you back. And she said, I don't want my. It's just enough. Here, take it, and that's it.
I'm a vegetarian.
Right. Give it to your brother. Give it to whoever. That wasn't his problem. And I'm not picking on the price, but I'm just saying it was a bag of meat. So you can imagine what a brown bag of meat would cost. He wasn't giving bones. Okay, it was a good. But that's again, you did something good for me. I want to do it for you, not because I owe you anything. I don't. But it's just you were very nice, and I don't want to be I don't want to be a shnara. I don't want to. How do you say shnara? I don't want to be a. It's not. It's a what? Collector. Shnara is worse than that. I don't know. I can't. How do you translate shnara?
Like a cheapsake.
No, shnara is.
Parasite?
Yeah, more parasite. Yeah, more parasite. Yeah. It's a sad. It's a very moocher, parasite. Good, moocher. Right.
The mooch.
Right. But that's what they call the shara. He's always asking, he's never giving. Okay. So, yeah, we're over here. Yeah, so if he has dealing with others, he should conduct himself conduct them in complete honesty, and he should not make issues of small things. He should always desire that his friend benefit from him and not to benefit from his friend. So he says, the world is filled with two types of people, givers and takers. It is said that takers eat well, but givers sleep well. Takers often think to themselves, what's in it for me? Not realizing that this attitude creates and broadens the gap between themselves and others. Giving, on the other hand, bridges any gap which may exist between people, which in turn nurtures love toward others. Okay? He should speak gently with all people. And he says, speaking in a soft and gentle manner is easy when things are going well and everything is under control. The challenge becomes more difficult when things are not going the way one expects them to. Pressure begins to build, voices become raised and sharpened, and anger erupts. The word of the classic letter from the Ramban, the famed to a son, comes to mind. Accustom yourself to speak gently to all people at all times. That will protect you from anger. There is a direct correlation between the tone and the volume of one's voice and his mood and state of mind. The louder and rougher the voice, the more angry a person becomes. The softer and gentler the voice, the calmer and more relaxed he remains. Shlomo Melech said, a gentle answer appeases anger, and a distressing word stirs up anger. Since the power of speech is one of man's greatest faculties, it has the power to cause evil or to promote good. Speaking gently with others is an important factor in developing love between people. So if you want to do right, you speak softly. But the expression was, speak softly and carry a big stick. If you remember that expression, okay? But the bottom line is, we get, my grandmother used to say, you catch more flies with honey than you do vinegar. Okay, fine. So all these things are there. You just have to conquer the anger. And by the way, I'll give you this part of Torah Devar too. Why do we get angry? Because we think we should be controlling the situation. We realize that God is in control, then we don't get angry. We don't even get frustrated. We just say, okay, this is what it is. I read a story, one of these wonderful stories you have to read, okay? And what happened was the child was not doing well in school. Parents tried everything, blah, 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 fine, okay. And then, I think it must have been one of the Arush stories. So what does he do? He tells him, thank God for your kid doing badly in school. So he starts to, he said, that's going to help? Yeah, it'll help, don't worry. So he starts to say it. He doesn't get angry anymore with the child. He's starting to thank, Baruch Hashem, thank you so much, Hashem. You gave me a wonderful child, blah, 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 blah. And so, okay, he's not doing well in school. Maybe you can help him to improve that, but that's not mine. That's a your chash, but not it's your accounting, not mine. And so he kept thinking. Suddenly the kid turns around, becomes a wonderful student, becomes a Rosh Yeshiva, blah, blah, blah. The Kumbaya story. But it's something that we have to think about. Again, why do I get excited? Because I think I'm in control. And what Hashem keeps telling us is, you're not in control. Deal with it. It's just what it is going to be. Okay, so he says, if someone is shamed by another, he should not shame that person in return. If he is misled by another, he should not mislead him in return. He should bear the burden of others upon his shoulders, but not impose his burden upon them. He should not quarrel with others, and should receive all men with joy and a pleasant countenance, because a pleasant countenance strengthens love. And he says, one who receives others with a pleasant countenance is considered to have given them all good gifts of the world, and even if he has given them nothing. Rav Yisroel Salanter is known to have said that a person's heart is a private domain, but a person's face is a public domain. When one greets another with a smile, he is credited for the joy and happiness they experience as a result, and conversely, he is responsible if he hurts their feelings by failing to do so. So he gave a nice poem here. He said, a smile costs nothing but gives much. It enriches those who receive without making poorer those who give. It takes but a moment, but the memory of it sometimes lasts forever. None is so rich or mighty that he can get along without it, and none is so poor but that he can be made rich by it. A smile creates happiness in the home, fosters goodwill in business, and is a countersign of friendship. It brings rest to the weary, cheer to the discouraged, sunshine to the sad, and is nature's best antidote for trouble. Yet it cannot be bought, begged, borrowed, or stolen, for it is something that is of no value to anyone until it is given away. Some people are too tired to give you a smile. Give them one of yours, as none needs a smile as much as he who has no more to give. And we'll stop there.
Pretty.